Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
Well, hello, Dr. Roto. It is that time of year where I like to call it the 5-week checkup. We're about a third of the way through the seasonal NFL season for fantasy, and we need to know what we're seeing. Is it real? Is it false? Who's coming? Who's going? And I have a feeling you have the prescription for me.
I'm going to try, my friend, but I'll tell you, I had one team in the Pros with Joes that had Justin Jefferson and Devin Achane both go on IR. Oh, yeah. So that team that had delusions of glory.
Oh, yeah.
So
I have to say, one of my favorite teams leading into this year, I had Jefferson with my first pick. I had Chubb with my second pick. I had Mike Williams with my third pick. I've written that team off. That one's done.
I think so.
That one's done. Well, anyways, I want to get to talking about a couple of things here. And, I started looking through just kind of seeing where people are and, looking at quarterbacks, and you see Josh Allen, you see Jalen Hurts right up there at the top where they deserve to be. And normally you say a quarterback be number 5, right? And you're cool with that on the year. But does that seem like a disappointment for Patrick Mahomes?
Yes and no, because when we think of Mahomes, we think of number 1. But have you seen that receiving core?
Right. Whew.
It is far from number 1. I mean, we want Sky Moore to be good. He's not. We want Valdez-Scantling to be consistent. He's not. I like Rashee Rice, but he drops a couple of passes here and there.
Oh, yeah.
Kelsey has not been the number 1, the first round pick that everybody thought he would be. I never take a tight end in the first round. That's why. So, I mean, look, Mahomes has done a good enough job, but it's not going to win you a league right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we'll get to the tight ends here in a minute, but, I'm concerned about Kelsey. That those ankles are going to linger all year long. Well, let's go talk about a couple other guys. I don't know if you noticed this, Doc, but right now, number 6 in a standard quarterback league is Russell Wilson. He's sneaky. Number 6 in my Yahoo leagues, and he is only rostered 57%. Is this a buy? Do you buy Russell Wilson?
I mean, look, the numbers are there. And the efficiency is okay. But did he look good against the Jets? I mean, ask yourself that question. Has he looked good? No. I mean, he's been playing from behind. It's been a lot. Remember Blake Bortles? Russell Wilson feels to me like Blake Bortles, where Blake Bortles the first half would throw for 22 yards, and then he finished with 382 by the end of the game because they were behind, and then he did a lot of cool stuff at the end. I'm not buying it, man. Why is Marvin Mims not on the field? Where's Jerry Jeudy? I think it's just, I don't like what Sean Payton's doing. I do love this kid, Jaleel McLaughlin. I think he's better, for my money, he's better than Javonte Williams.
He's looked good, and I like him. Let's talk real briefly about Joe Burrow. Did we get the real Joe Burrow? Is he ready? Is he healthy?
There was a play, and I'm sure you remember it. You remember at the end of the game when he ran for those 10 yards?
Yep.
That should have told us everything. Because before with that calf, he's not running anywhere, right? He's running to the training table. So that tells me a lot, but that offensive line is bad. It's bad. It's going to get him killed. Think about it. The Giants, Daniel Jones has looked terrible. That offensive line is bad. Bryce Young can't get 2 seconds to throw. Joe Burrow is under siege every time he touches the ball. They've got to be better linemen out there, but I do like Burrow. He needs T. Higgins back. And then if you had a Chase and Higgins, Mixon had the ball on the 1-yard line, how many times he couldn't score last week? So
frustrating.
It's the OL.
So Burrow, if you have him and you've been holding on to him and not starting him, do you sell him right now after that game?
I mean, you could try, or you could start him. I mean, I have him in a couple leagues, and I'm all in on him now. What am I going to do, right? So you've been waiting for this. It should get better. It's a good offensive team. He's got good skill players. I don't think you trade him. I think you ride with him at this point.
All right. One last question. Are we concerned with Trevor Lawrence? He is not breaking into the QB1 conversation. He's at like QB 18 or something right now, and it's not looking pretty.
I think you are, because in the beginning of the year, wasn't he one of the 8 guys that you wanted?
Absolutely.
And don't laugh. He's better when Zay Jones is on the field. It's like when Zay Jones has played, Lawrence has looked good. Take Zay Jones out, and now there's no third receiver out there. Ingram is highly inconsistent, at least for my liking. I love Ridley. I love Kirk, but they're just missing something on offense. And sometimes, you ever notice the passes sail with Lawrence? Like, he doesn't just miss. He Cam Newton misses. Yeah. Like, it's just not even close. So I think you have to hold. I think the team is good. And if you remember last year, he was bad in the beginning of the year and then it got better.
Right. All right. One last question, because I wouldn't be able to wear this shirt without asking. Is Brock Purdy the real deal?
Real deal. And a really great coaching staff, really great skill players around him. He doesn't have to win the game himself, but he's not going to lose the game for you either. I mean, it's not like he's a zero sum. He is a plus.
Yeah, we talk about him every Sunday morning. He's good for 20 points every game, guaranteed.
He's got the best floor, and maybe of any quarterback outside of Mahomes and Hurts. So what is there not to like when you have Samuel and Ayuk and Kittle and McCaffrey? I mean, most teams would kill to have 2 of those guys. They have 4 and the best play caller in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's talk about running backs. Zach Moss, are we giving up on him completely?
No, because as you will know, can you get hurt? Nick Chubb did. Saquon Barkley did. A lot of guys get hurt. Why not hold Moss? You don't think Jonathan Taylor can get hurt? He's missed a few games. Might as well hold him. Now, look, if you could trade him, sure. But I don't know what you're going to get, because somebody's going to say, well, isn't Jonathan Taylor playing?
Right.
So you got to hold.
Do they have value together, or do you have to just hold Moss in hopes that Taylor gets hurt again?
If you would offer me Taylor and Moss, I probably would take that deal, because this way I know I'm getting the Colts running game. Sure.
I like it. All right. With Devon Achane out now, we got Mostert plugged in. Who do we like below that? Who's the save now? Is it Wilson? Is it Ahmed?
No, it's Jeff Wilson. I mean, Jeff Wilson's a good player, and they like him very much. And he played with McDaniel back in San Francisco, as you well know. I mean, Ahmed's fine, and Chris Brooks is a flyer. But, I mean, you got to think that Mostert and Wilson are going to see 80 to 85% of those touches there. But those guys do get hurt. It's not like Mostert and Wilson are pictures of health. They're not. So could a third guy emerge? Maybe. Do I want to see Achane back on the field? Desperately. I mean, he's such an exciting talent. But this week in DFS, dude, Mostert all day.
I like it. All right, who's the rising stars we need to keep an eye on in the running back? I mean, we know that the key handcuffs have been super important so far this year. But who is the buy lows right now? Who do you like? Name brands that you might be able to steal off somebody.
Rashawn Johnson is interesting. People forget guys off bye weeks. Rachaad White is interesting. Maybe you could get Jahmyr Gibbs for a box of Krispy Kreme donuts.
Sure.
Right? Nobody wants him anymore.
I know White hasn't put up a lot of numbers, but I saw him on the waiver in 2 of my 5 leagues. Right. He's a guy that gets the ball, though. I mean, he's done not much with it, but he has the opportunities. I mean, we're rostering guys like Salvin Ahmed. Right. But yet White is on the waiver wire.
Let me look at something here, Danger. I want to get to this. Give me 1 second. Please hold. Please continue to hold. Thank you for holding. All right, Tampa. Tampa has had Minnesota, good run defense. Chicago, train wreck, but White played well. Philadelphia, best run defense. Saints, great run defense. Now, don't forget, he's got Detroit, great run defense, in Atlanta, great run defense. And then it gets a lot easier. Buffalo, Houston, Indianapolis, Carolina. So there's going to be some really good days for White coming forward. So he's not a guy I'm getting. The next 2 weeks are going to be ugly. But after that, if you can get through those next 2 weeks, he should shine for you.
I like it. One last question for running backs. DeAndre Swift obviously had a bad week this week, right? But he has scored top 10 in PPR running backs. Is this something that is going to continue? Is this just an off week, or is this a normal up and down you see for the rest of the year with Swift?
No, I love Swift. I mean, last year I was taking him in the first round of drafts. The guy's very talented. Dan Campbell just didn't like him. He treated him like he treated Jahmyr Gibbs. Yeah. But now he's going to a team where he's the number 1 running back on arguably one of the top 3 teams in the league. Give me Swift all day. I mean, you can win your league with Swift, and I think he's a great guy to trade for.
All right, last running back question for me, Dameon Pierce. Does he have better days ahead?
He does have better days ahead. I truly believe that. Let me see. I'm going to try to find you the same list here of guys, because he's game flow dependent. But they've played Baltimore, Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh. He was great at Pittsburgh. He was good at Atlanta. He's got a very tough matchup against the Saints. Then he's on bye. But after that, Carolina, Tampa, Cincinnati, Arizona, Jacksonville, Denver, Giants. The only problem I have with him is in the fantasy playoffs danger, he plays Tennessee 2 of the 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. So he may get you to the playoffs, but you don't want to play him in the playoffs.
Excellent. Okay, I lied. I have more running back questions. While you were looking at that, I know. I'm sorry. I have more. Derrick Henry. I have him in but one league. Should I sell this dude? His wheels look like they're falling off.
So look, you have $1. Mm-hmm. Would you take 80 cents for this $1? Because that's what you're going to get for Derrick Henry. Mm-hmm. You're going to sell him. Yeah, you want to be selling Derrick Henry for $1.20. Mm-hmm. You're not getting $1.20. You're getting 80 cents. Yeah. So I think you got to hold Henry because you need that 2 touchdown game, and then all of a sudden you can get your $1.20 again.
I hear you. All right, we'll move on. We'll move on to wide receivers. How's that? Look. I was a doubter. I said, Kupp's back. Nakua's going to be forgotten. Dude got 11 targets. This is just going to be Kupp and Nakua all week, every week, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. DJ Moore. He currently ranks as number 5 PPR receiver, but he got 55% of the points he's scored this year last week. I've kind of looked back a little bit at Fields, who is the number 6 quarterback right now. He's doing well. Stat-wise, their team is terrible. He has a tendency to lock on a single target. Can we see more of this from DJ Moore?
Sure. I mean, look, DJ Moore is that guy in any best ball tournament that could probably win you the tournament because when he's good, he's going to be sensational. And it's not DJ Moore. DJ Moore is always good. It's about Justin Fields. Mm-hmm. But I think getting Claypool out of there is a good thing. Claypool is a cancer. Yeah. He is. He's a locker room cancer. And he was a malcontent. Now Moore is going to get every touch. You know, him and Mooney is not really a guy there. It's going to be more in Komet. And I like him. Getting back to your Rams thing, man, go get your Rams jersey and your Rams hat and get Stafford on your team. And you have Stafford, Kyren, Kupp, Nakua. I mean, look, it's a concentrated offense. Maybe there's Tutu Atwell and whatever. Mm-hmm. I think Cooper Kupp could go ballistic this week against Arizona. Sure. This is, you want to win in DFS, right? Forget seasonal. In DFS, you need the guy who gets that nuclear game. Cooper Kupp is a nuclear talent. So if you were patient and you drafted him in round 2 or 3, I mean, he was going in round 3 at some point. You're talking about a guy who's a top 5 player.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I know we're talking seasonal lineups right now, but I was looking ahead at DFS and putting Stafford with Kyren and picking either Kupp or Nakua, whoever you can afford to put in there, is a pretty concentrated look at that offense.
It's the same thing as Miami, right? Miami, right. You do Tua, Mostert, and Tyreek. You're going to be rich. Same concept.
Yeah, totally fine. All right, we got Justin Jefferson out by all means, probably 5 or 6 weeks, right? What do we make of that wide receiver core now? Osborne was hot on the waiver wires, obviously. There is Pollock. Is he I'm thinking
Powell.
I knew it started with a P. I knew you'd get me there. What do we make of the wide receiver core? I mean, they haven't been winning games, right? But they've been throwing the ball. They've been putting up numbers.
So look, Osborne is the most underappreciated guy in professional football. Mm-hmm. He's had more snaps than Addison. He's been equally as effective as Addison. And you'll see how good he is. I do.
Also, does he not look like he's 40 pounds heavier than Addison? He's a big guy.
Well, he's a big dude. Yeah. And Addison is good. And Addison has an injured ankle, by the way. Mm-hmm. But I think the bigger question is this. You have Justin Jefferson in seasonal right now. Mm-hmm. Do you hold him or do you trade him? So some guy comes to me today, and I only have Jefferson in 2 leagues. One is a non-trading league and one is a trading league. Mm-hmm. And some guy says, I want Jefferson. And I didn't even think about trading him, but I moved him today. I moved Jefferson. I traded Jefferson, Trevor Lawrence, and Zach Ertz for Brock Purdy, Devontae Adams, and TJ Hockenson.
Yeah.
What was my choice? Wait 5 weeks and hope that Jefferson's the number 1 guy? Or do I take Hockenson? Do I take Adams? Do I take Purdy and say to myself, look, I don't want to lose Jefferson ever, but I'm trying to win a league. I'll worry about next year. So if you can get a trade where somebody, especially the team in first place, maybe second place, who thinks that Jefferson will be back, I think you got to entertain that offer.
What if they're 2-9 when he comes back to play?
Look, the guy likes to play football.
Right.
And I think the biggest mistake is, and I always remember this. So Jake Arians, Bruce Arians' son, was on the radio show once. And I said, Jake, don't the teams want the first round pick, the first number 1 pick? He goes, Doc, players don't think that way. Fans think that way.
Right.
Coaches want to be employed. Players want to Players are looking to get on tape and they're looking to play well because if they don't, they're not going to be there next year. They're not thinking about Caleb Williams. We're thinking about Caleb Williams.
Right.
So Justin Jefferson's going to play.
Yeah. Fair enough. Let's talk about where the heck have Waddle and Smith been?
Look, when you have a number 2 receiver, T. Higgins, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, there's issues because it's a lack of consistency. Now, Smith was very consistent last year, but I mentioned this in our Discord, which if you're not in our Discord, get in our Discord on Sunday morning. You'll learn tons there. And I said to everybody, I go, A.J. Brown gave Jalen Hurts the business. He was like, dude, he was yelling him on the sidelines, and A.J. Brown is like a mountain, right? So if this dude is yelling at you, you're like, all right, dude, whatever. But Devonta Smith is not going to – look, DeAndre Swift takes balls away from Devonta Smith, and then you got to feed A.J. Brown. So do I like Devonta Smith? I do, but I don't love him. Waddle, you got a great running game, and now you got Hill, who wants to get 2,000 yards and looks like he might do it. So I think these number 2 receivers are hurting us more than helping us.
Yeah, it's not good. And I have both of them on a couple of different teams together because that's just how the draft fell. Thielen, can he possibly keep it up, or do you sell him for every penny you can get right now?
Both. I think he can keep it up. I think this shows you that they misused him in Minnesota last year. The guy is not shot for sure. Is he fast? No. Is he a good receiver? Yes. And Bryce Young looks terrible. The offensive line looks even worse. And they're playing at the slowest pace in the league. The dude played at Alabama. He played with thoroughbreds, right? So now all of a sudden you're treating him like a Clydesdale? You don't do that. When you have a thoroughbred, you let thoroughbreds run.
All right. Fair enough. What else do I got here? Nico Collins, man, been a really, really positive player this year. Tank Dell on that team. Robert Woods not doing great, but has been catching some balls. Is that Houston offense? I mean, we just talked about Dameon Pierce having some nicer games ahead. Is this something to spread out, some risk across my leagues?
Look, you forgot Dalton Schultz. So you've got a competent tight end. You got a true number 1 receiver. You got Tank Dell, who's good. You got Woods, who's, a veteran in this league. You got Dameon Pierce, and you have CJ Stroud, who looks really good. He looks better than I ever expected because this was a guy who did not like the pass rush in college. But he's not making mistakes. They're throwing the ball. It's that San Francisco offense that they're using that I know you know so well, Danger. Indeed. Right? So I feel like Stroud is a guy that I missed on, but I picked him up a lot as quickly as I could because I was like, I need to be on this guy.
Do you like their head coach?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think they can spend an offseason fixing their line, picking up some defensive players, and compete, maybe not for a playoff spot, but, in that division next year?
Without question, because your offense is young. Collins is what, year 3 or 4. Dell's a rookie. Schultz is still not that old. So who cares about Robert Woods? I'll find another dude. Right. Pierce will be in his 3rd year next year. I think you got to get another offensive lineman, and then you put everything into defense. Now, I know they went and they got Will Anderson. I wouldn't have moved up for Anderson like they did. I don't think he's a generational talent. I think they thought he was. But you got to get a linebacker who puts pressure. You got to get another, a cover guy. Stingley's been out. And I think without Stingley, it's a problem because Stingley's a really good player. So they're not far away, but they're far enough.
Yeah, I'm not trying to stack them up, but I kind of like having one of those guys on each one of my teams.
Which guy?
I got Pierce on one. I've got Tank on a couple. I've got, Nico on one. I've got Schultz on another. I'm not trying to have 3 players from their team.
But I thought a very good stack this year. If you played best ball, you tried to stack, right?
Yes.
I thought the Texans were a good, sneaky stack because you could get Stroud and all those receivers later. And, you could have ended up with Tank, Stroud, Nico, Schultz for nothing.
All right, let's finish up with tight ends in just a couple of minutes here. We talked about it with Coach White before the season started, but Sam Laporta is crushing the world. He looks really good. Amon-Ra has been banged up. But to be honest, that it's him. Kelce, honestly, I was kind of shocked when I was getting ready for this to see that he still is the number 2, even though he missed a game and sat out half of a game. which is kind of wild. Shows how good he is. You got Hockenson, and then you got a list of dudes who are all at like 38 to 45 points. With that being said, can you take Sam Laporta and just trade him, get one of those guys down and try to upgrade elsewhere? Or do you have to just ride him? Because he's not putting up world beater numbers. He's only putting up 62 points. It's not like Kelsey's at 80 or 100 that he used to be at.
I know, but when you look at it, give me a second. I'm trying to find something. So let me look at some rankings here at tight end. Let's say you trade Laporta. Mm-hmm. You want Freiermuth, you want Pitts, you want Ferguson, you want Schultz, you want Everett, you want Okonkwo. Really? I don't want that. I want to win.
Sure.
Right. Sam Laporta was probably the guy that you could have drafted, who was a top 5 guy that you took in round 10 or 11. Mm-hmm. Like every year, I always say, years ago, I took Zach Ertz. And I always say, I got to find this year's Zach Ertz. Mm-hmm. Who is this year's Zach Ertz? Well, Sam Laporta is this year's Zach Ertz. Sure. Next year is going to be who's next year's Sam Laporta. Right. Now, do I think that there's Logan Thomas is interesting? Do I think Trey McBride may be interesting one day? Yeah, the dude can ball from the Cardinals, but Zach Ertz is hanging on for dear life. Maybe he needs to retire with his wife. But I'm just saying, like, it's hard to find those guys because you're not winning your league with Dalton Kincaid, let me tell you.
Sure. No. But if you lost Jefferson, if you lost a couple of high-end guys and you're trying to replace them with a serviceable wide receiver that's a wide receiver 1 for like a Nico Collins, and you can get 2 pieces back, maybe. I'm just saying.
I just think when you're imagine this, you're trading the best player from 2 and 3.
Sure.
You're not winning. You want the best player because you want to find a guy on your waiver wire. You want to, especially if you're in a 12-team league. If you're in a 12-team league, there's guys out there. Now, if you're in a 14 or 16, I know it's pretty rough, but I think Sam Laporta is going to be the guy that helps you win. And that's why you hold on to a guy like that.
Well, thank you so much, Doc, for this 5-week checkup. And we'll check back in heading in for the playoff push in about another 5 weeks. How's that?
Can't wait, my friend. Can't wait.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.